Hey chocolate friends, it's Thursday. Let's talk about some chocolate. This week I'm going to talk about a chocolate maker who is a maker at origin, and that is Tri-Island Chocolate out of Grenada in the Caribbean. Tri-Island Chocolate was started in 2016 by Sylvester. And let me give you a little background about Aaron. So his family is from Grenada, but he was born in London. He had grandparents that stayed in Grenada. So Aaron's previous chocolate career, and this is always interesting to me, how people make their way to chocolate. They come from such diverse backgrounds. So his previous career, he was born in London, and he was an online marketing exec for Sony and Atlantic Records. And he told me that he worked there for 9 years, and he worked with singers and bands that I would know, people that you would recognize. But he got to a point after 9 years that he felt like that he had done all that he could in that job and felt like it was time to do something else. And so he decided to travel. He went to places like India, Brazil, Iceland, Vietnam, Thailand, and he did this for two reasons. The first reason was that, one, he wanted to see the world, and two, was because when he was 13 years old and his grandparents passed away, he inherited 2 acres of a cocoa land from his grandparents. So about 98 trees in a family plot where there was more cacao and other plants. And so he was traveling to all these countries to learn about cacao. So he started making actual chocolate in 2014 and 2015. He told me he made lots and lots of bad chocolate. And he was doing this by going to Grenada and bringing the beans back to the UK and making them in his mother's kitchen. And so both his grandparents and his father had worked the land in Grenada. And so when his brother and him inherited, by 2016, he decided this would just be easier if I just went to Grenada and worked on the farm and made chocolate there. So let me tell you a little bit about Grenada, because it's kind of an interesting place. It's got an interesting political history, but I won't go too much into that. So it's in the Caribbean. It consists of 3 main islands and then a bunch of little islands. So the biggest island is the island of Grenada. And then there's 2 smaller islands, Carriacou and Petite Martinique. So sometimes it's got a nickname of the Tri-Island State. Sometimes it's known as the Spice Islands. That's mainly due to they grow lots of mace and nutmeg, which are actually from the same plant. The capital of Grenada is St. George's. It's on the Big Island. And Grenada, the main island, is volcanic in origin. So it's got nice volcanic soil, and it's kind of mountainous in the interior. So it's got some topography going on to it. So that is where he was moving from. So it was not like he had never been to Grenada before. His family was there, and he would spend summers there, he told me much to his chagrin. He would leave his friends behind in the UK and have to go spend the summer on Grenada with his grandparents and the mosquitoes. So he was familiar with the islands. He had been there before, but in 2016 he decided to move there and open his chocolate company. So before he left, he made some great connections in England and around the world. The man did his research. He connected with Don Ramsay, who wrote my favorite chocolate book and is a chocolate maker out of England in the UK. He connected with Nick Davis of 11 Cacao in Jamaica, who is also a chocolate maker. He connected with Dr. Suka of the Cacao Research Institute in Trinidad, and he actually went to Trinidad for a chocolate sensory and making course. Looked at The Chocolate Alchemist, connected with Clay Gordon at The Chocolate Life. he did his research. He went into this knowing what was happening. He wasn't going into this blind, asking someone, how do I make chocolate on the internet? So he definitely did his research before going into this. And then when he got to Grenada, he connected with the makers there. So there's about I want to say 5, I hope still 5, at least after COVID, makers on Grenada. So I asked him when he had first tasted bean to bar chocolate, and he thought it was probably the Grenada Chocolate Factory, which is one of the 5 makers in Grenada that are still there. But he said he was also influenced by Maru, which is a chocolate maker out of Vietnam, another maker at origin. So let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Oh, his grandparents were not chocolate makers, they were farmers. So they grew all kinds of different things on their farm, but they didn't make chocolate. So when he moved there, he had to do some, he connected with a permaculture specialist and had to do some rehab on the farm. Incorporated composting and intercropping, planting with other crops that could be helpful to raise money. Did water harvesting, wanted to use local ingredients, wanted to create local flavors, wanted to incorporate agroforestry, wanted to basically, one of the reasons that he does his tours is because he said people just don't know where their food is coming from. They didn't know where cinnamon was from. They didn't know where ginger was from. They didn't know where their food was coming from, or cocoa. So he wanted to have agricultural that it works and also supports nature. So it doesn't work against nature, but goes with what nature wants to happen. All right, so I have this bar. I got this bar as part of the My Grenada box, which they do in connection with the Grenada Chocolate Festival. But you can also get it through the Cross Atlantic Chocolate Collective, or you can order on his website. He's got lots of cool stuff on his website. So let's flip the camera around, open up the bar, take a look at the wrapper. I'll tell you a few more things and we'll get into it. Okay, so I have one bar. He makes 3 different bars. He makes a 56% dark milk. This one, a 75% cocoa with bee pollen and an 80% dark. Makes roughly 6,000 bars a year, but that changes depending on all kinds of things. So let's talk about the wrapper. So the wrapper, he told me that he likes a clean, kind of minimalist style, wanted the colors to be quintessentially Caribbean, which this is, looks very Caribbean. You've got the cocoa pod down here. He was influenced by Maru with the gold embossing on there. And he actually told me that he wanted to do what Maru is doing. So if you're familiar with Maru, what they do is they go around Vietnam and collect cocoa beans from different regions within Vietnam, and you have single regional origins. And he wanted to do that with the different islands in Grenada, but it turns out that the big island of Grenada is the only place where cocoa grows really well due to its volcanic soil. So this name here, St. Andrews, Grenada has 6 parishes on them, and St. Andrews, like a parish would be, I guess, the equivalent of, I don't know, maybe a province or a county, because it's not as big as a province, but maybe like a county. But the island is divided into 6 parishes. All right, so let's see what we got on here. So we have 75% cocoa. There's the islands right there. You can see that says harvested, crafted in Grenada. So this is a maker at origin. So he's not transporting the beans to the global north to make this. Let's see what we got on the back here. Okay, nice. Best before date, batch number, good. There's our ingredient list: cocoa beans, cane sugar, and bee pollen. Fun. Okay, let's open this up. Oh, look, there's a little map. Okay, so you can kind of orient yourself where Grenada is. There's Trinidad, Tobago. Grenada is 3 little islands in between there, and the Barbados. Okay, let's take a look at the bar. I like the wrapper. It's good. It's a sturdy enough wrapper for transport, but it looks nice still. Smells good. Oh, I like the mold. Okay. So what a fun mold. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see how it's got topography to it? So he told me that the mold was designed by a friend of his from school, and basically they took the topography of the farm and incorporated it into the mold of the bar. So you've got the ups and downs of the actual bar itself, and then you have the different topography. And then he also said it could be a metaphor for the chocolate industry, where depending on what piece you get, you're getting uneven pieces, and that represents the inequality in the industry, how farmers aren't paid well. So the reason there's a color difference is just that it was in this packaging. Some of it was touching the plastic, some of it was not. Okay, so there's the bee pollen. And again, if it's got a little tiny bit of bloom, but I don't mind that because it's come from the Caribbean, so it's made a journey to get to me. And so it's probably, I expect it to go through some temperature changes before it gets to me. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. We can check the temper when we do a snap here. Let's listen for a snap. Ooh. Wow, that's a good snap. So I'm okay. So you can see, can you see? Let's see if I can get it to focus. So the bee pollen is not just on the back, it's also incorporated into the bar itself. You can see it there. It looks nice and even. It had a good strong snap. That was a nice snap sound, if you can hear that. So I'm not too worried about technique or temper. It's one of the challenges of being a maker at origin is transporting your chocolate to the global north or to other locations. It's one of the challenges that they face. So what I'm going to do now is I am just going to, you know what, I'm going to find a piece with bee pollen on the back because I want to make sure that I get some of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to warm it up a little bit with my thumb. Cocoa butter has a melting temperature that's close to human body temperature, so I'll warm it up just a little to release the aromatics and see what I can note, and then we'll come back and talk about the flavor. All right, so this is a if you like dark chocolate, you'll like this one. It tastes like a dark, like sometimes you can get bars that are like 75, 80 and they taste like a milk chocolate. This one definitely tastes like a dark chocolate. It has a little bit of it's got aromas of cocoa and maybe a little bit of honey. The flavor that comes through is, it has a slow melt, slightly powdery mouthfeel. I don't know if that is, like I said, it seems to have come slightly out of temper when traveling to me, so that may be a temper issue. Not his. I mean, that's part of, I can't say it his. It could be part of the traveling issue, but it also could be the bee pollen, because bee pollen tends to sometimes have a kind of a powdery mouth feel. It has, I would say it has sweet notes. It has a sweet taste to it, maybe a honey, a little bit of cream, undertones of a fruitiness when you get to the end. It's got a finish that is slightly bitter and ever so slightly astringent at the end, but not in an unpleasant way. It just is a long, it's got a nice long finish to it that will stay with you. So I'm sure he probably collects the bee pollen on his farm as well, because he does do a honey tasting tour. They do keep bees on the farm as well. So that is Tri-Island Chocolate, a maker at origin. Let's flip the camera around and we will finish up. All right, so that was Tri-Island Chocolate. So like many, well, okay, let's start here. In 2019, he opened the first chocolate factory in St. George's. Then in 2020, we all know what happened, and COVID hit, tourism dried up, which is a major industry in Grenada, and they didn't have the same kind of support as some countries had, so there was no government support for businesses or employees, and he had to close that particular factory location. So he had to pivot, a word we all know and love now. So something interesting about Grenada is that they tend to get fewer hurricanes than other islands in the Caribbean. So cruise ships during hurricane season tend to head to Grenada. So his way of pivoting was that he was doing an online virtual make your own chocolate bar, which was an experience that you could formerly have in his factory. You could go and make your own chocolate bar, include local ingredients, nuts, etc. So he would do this as he would contact the cruise ships, people would sign up, and you would do it over Zoom. He would teach you about how chocolate is made, where it comes from. He would show you your available ingredients. You would select the ingredients. You would watch him make your chocolate bar, and then sign off. He would set the bars, and then he would deliver them to them. So he'd go out to the dock. The people from the cruise ship would row in. He would hand it to them from the dock because they couldn't come on land during COVID, and then they would row back out to the cruise ship. So that was one way that he dealt with COVID. Thank goodness we are hopefully having fewer effects from that nowadays. In October of 2021, he did open a new factory location. He told me that recently he had a problem with one of his grinders, and it had an electrical short and had a little fire in his factory, which is just got to be totally frustrating for him, I am sure, just having opened the new factory location. But I know that he will be up and running and has some exciting tours going on that you can take through Tri-Island Chocolate. So he has a Rastafarian cocoa tour where you go on the farm and you learn all kinds of fun things. He has a honey tasting tour, a chocolate tasting. You can make truffles with local rum. So that's the kind of things you can do. He also works hard to build better relationships between chocolate makers and farmers. He wants to encourage direct relationships, getting rid of the middleman. He's, like I said before, he's part of the Cross Atlantic Chocolate Collective, which is a group of chocolate makers on both sides of the Atlantic that are working to decolonize the cocoa supply chain, which is, if you're interested in looking into that, that's really cool, and I will leave a link down there. I got this chocolate through the Grenada chocolate box. So Grenada has a chocolate festival every normal year and when they weren't able to have it, I ordered their My Grenada chocolate box, and I got Tri-Island as one of the chocolates in there, but also some other fabulous chocolates from the island. So Grenada is just super interesting when it comes to chocolate. Check it out, do some fun research. Let me know if you've been to Grenada. I've never been. I was planning on going before COVID, but COVID put a halt to all my travel plans. So I'm hoping to get to Grenada sometime soon. So if you've been, let me know, give me some tips. If you want to hear another maker at origin, or you have maker at origin that you'd like me to talk about, let me know down in the comments. And make sure you subscribe so that we can hang out every week and talk about all things chocolate. And I hope to see you next week. Thanks for watching.